Thank you so much for being here today, Lynnsey.
I'm so excited to be here with you. I can't wait to chat about all the things.
We're going to talk about all the things. I was telling you before I hit record, I was like, I want to talk about this and this and this and this. So we're just going to see where this conversation goes. But let's start with I love exploring the link between thoughts, emotions, our actions, our results that we create. And with you, I want to layer in a conversation about the subconscious influence. So start with like for somebody who's like, what is the subconscious? Like whatever. So start with what how does the subconscious work? And then what role does the subconscious play in shaping how we think, feel, and act?
Okay, so I have to really try and do my best to be concise and clear and to the point. I think I'm pretty good at it. I've said this so many times and I've explained it so many times. I think I'm going to be pretty good. But if there's any part that's like fuzzy, just let me know. So I'm going to explain how the subconscious works and kind of weave in how hypnotherapy works with the
Oh,
subconscious,
perfect.
if that's okay. So it's kind of like a twofer. I'm going to teach you about both. But if we could just for a second imagine that your mind, when you're born, we'll just pretend your mind is a circle, not the brain. We know the mind is the metaphysical, abstract part of the brain. So the mind is a circle. When babies are born, you are born with the fight or flight response, a fear of loud noises, and a fear of falling. That's it. That is it. So as you move through the world, learning and, recognizing your fingers and toes and learning about everything in reality, they say kids are sponges because they absorb everything. And they really do. They have no discernment yet. They can't decide if something is true or false. They just take in information. And along the way, you take in things that you know are true about yourself. So I have brown hair. That is a truth about me. I love chocolate. I don't really like lima beans that much. These are things that you discover and learn about yourself that are true, non-negotiables. I mean, preferences are, but you know what I'm trying to say. So
Mhm.
things that are just true. Also, along the way, you pick up certain fears. Oh, do not touch a hot stove. We've just learned that fire is dangerous. So maybe we can stay away from that. And when you hit about 7 to 9 years old, you get what's called a critical filter or a critical mind that acts as the barrier go between the newly formed conscious and what is now the subconscious. The subconscious mind holds about 90 to 95% of your mind power, and every study I see has a different larger number. So I think the last one I saw was like up to 98% of your mind. It's ridiculous. The subconscious is the big mama. It is the boss. So I'm going to get into this, but if you have
Yeah.
a goal that your subconscious is not on board with, it's just not going to happen. So the
Facts.
process is really just how do I teach my subconscious that this is a safe thing to do, that is a natural next step. So the conscious, 5 to 10% of your mind, and I'm being generous, holds your decision making skills, your analytical skills, your rationalization, your reasoning, your willpower, your logic. That is all in your subconscious, and that is about 5 to 10%. Now, the subconscious and the conscious work together very well. They work together harmoniously most of the time because it's working off of a program that it knows to be true about you. So like I know how to speak, but I don't have to remember how to speak, but I do choose the words I'm saying. In the same way that like these hand gestures that I'm using are now conscious, but if I wasn't conscious of them, they would just happen. Same as digestion and blinking and breathing and all of the things that you don't have to think about live in the subconscious, which kind of makes sense why it's so big now because we don't even know how much is going on in the background. So you need something to process all of that stuff. And the subconscious is perfect at it. Now, its only job is to keep you alive.
You got
And
one job, friend.
you have one job. It's to keep you alive. One foot in front of the other, breathing, blinking, digesting your food. Anything outside of alive, like happy, fulfilled, successful, loved, and loving, those are all things that are possible, but just not a priority. Now, it also, in the process of keeping you alive, learns things that definitely won't keep you alive. Like a really bad breakup can feel like death. Or, if you have an anxiety attack, some people really feel like something is chasing them or like they can't relax. And so that is the subconscious way of being like, hey, we're in danger. We're in danger. Now, is that really true? Usually not. We don't live in a time where we have to fear for our lives. Okay, now this is getting, hold on. Most of the time, okay, depending on where you live, you don't have to worry about, your life, your life being in danger. So most of these things are just evolutionary. They are things we have learned. There are things that the subconscious has learned that will keep us in this safe little box. Now, that could mean entering the same relationship over and over and over. It could also mean staying within a certain tax bracket, because anything outside of what it knows is scary, including good things. An unknown is just as dangerous to the subconscious as a known danger. So hopefully this is all making sense so far. We're walking around as 9-year-olds in grown-up suits trying to figure it out, and we're doing the best we can, is really what I want to say first. Now, when you have a goal, a thought, an idea, a beautiful, inspired next step in your life that you want to take, and it makes you really excited, and you get the butterflies and the energy expands for a second, and you're like, ooh, what about all the possibilities? This sounds great. That thought, which originates in the conscious, will then check in with the critical filter, the critical mind, to see if there's anything that goes against it in the subconscious. I like to think of it as like the doorman at a club, or like an exclusive
mediator. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to go through me. It's like the assistant. Yeah.
he's got the clipboard. He has all the things that are true about you. Now, does $1 million fit? Is that on the list? Or are things on there like, there's never going to be enough money. I need more money. I must have more, that desperation energy. If there's anything contradicting your goal, it's going to kick it right back out. It's not going to get in, which is why sometimes when we start a goal, we get really excited, and then inevitably we start to get that self-talk going. Like, is this really possible? I don't know. I don't know if I'm capable. I don't know if I'm smart enough. Blah, 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 blah. The nonsense that we tell ourselves to keep us safe. Again, there's no, I really don't, I understand the word self-sabotage, and I do use that word, but the more I learn, the more it's like, it's not really sabotage. It's just trying to keep you safe. It has a program. It has the menu of what keeps you safe. And if there's anything outside of that,
it's like misguided protection.
It's like, yeah, it's protecting you with outdated information.
Right.
It doesn't know expiration dates. It doesn't know fact from fiction. It doesn't know reality from fantasy. It also doesn't know if you're kidding. So if you self-deprecate a lot and you like kind of limit yourself with what you're saying and thinking about your goal, it's going to just go, yep, check, got it. We'll remember that. So I implore you, your voice is the most powerful thing on this planet to yourself. Please, please be mindful of what you're saying and thinking. And I'm sure you've said this on the show like a million times, but this is like this science. Okay. You have to do it.
I'm like, this is neuroscience, friends. This is not like Stuart Smalley. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it. Like, yeah, turns out SNL was on to neuroscience. They were just trying to teach it. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, So basically what we do with hypnotherapy, if jumping off of this goal idea, so that's how the subconscious works. If there's anything that goes against it, it's not going to happen. With hypnotherapy, what I'm able to do is get you to a receptive state where your subconscious is alert, it is listening, it is receptive to what you're telling it. And that's really just a state of relaxation. You are fully in control the whole time. And you already go into hypnosis multiple times a day anyway. I'm just helping you do it. You're an expert already. It's your superpower, but I'm just helping you do it at will. I trigger it when you want to so that you can be more intentional with what your subconscious is learning. It is possible. Remember, you're only born with the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. So everything else is a learned behavior. That means we can go in, figure out what's not working, what had an expiration date, but didn't get the memo. We release it with love. We replace it with things that you actually want, things that will reflect who you are, who you really are, where you're going, who you want to be, and just watch the magic happen. Did I answer the question?
Yes. And I mean, I wanted to talk about hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So let's go into that. So, because you're kind of being sort of like, here's kind of the broad strokes of how it works. Here's how hypnotherapy intervenes. So let's talk about like an example. Like, what would that look like? And we could use, when you were saying that, like what I know when you're talking about fears, I experience claustrophobia a lot. And
my husband's really, really claustrophobic as well.
It's the worst, right? Like we're going to go under the Hudson River in New York to get, like, was I doing bilateral stimulation in the Uber? Yes, I was. Right? I'm like, what? We're all going to die. I can't breathe. Okay, right. It's a situation. Getting in an elevator, I'm like, yep, okay. Yeah. You have to be very intentional. I can feel myself sweating just telling you this. Like I can feel my autonomic nervous system reacting. So I hear you when you, so clearly my subconscious has not gotten the memo about the expiration date. And okay, actually, I'm glad I'm using this. Because what I know about you is that you also work with past life.
Okay. I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, because what I was about to say is once upon a time I was in Mexico and there was a psychic medium there and it was like as part of our yoga retreat you could meet with her and I was like I've never done this before. This sounds like a good time. And she's like, "Oh, are you open to a past life regression because it's very loud." But she was telling me things like, "Oh, you died in the Titanic." And right, are you I know you're
Wait, they said this to you?
yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm so jealous. Is that weird? I'm a little jealous. I love the Titanic. Maybe we were on it together. For all I know,
You're
I
like,
was
you're
there.
like, my soul is envious of what just happened there.
My
But
soul
again,
wants
like
to, yeah.
whether or not I was like, oh, this like relate, it feels like that feels related to then like the claustrophobia or like fear of suffocation. And I don't know what any of this means and how true it is, but maybe because I wanted to talk to you about past life stuff anyway. So how
Yeah.
does that, because I know it's part of your work. So if it we were doing something like I am 44 years old and still the class I've done all the things. I've done the ART therapies and like all the things. And turns out I'm still sweating just thinking about being it.
Yeah.
Last week when I had to get in an elevator, I'm like, could I carry these 50 books up the stairs? Could we in the heels? Could I do this? I will.
Right.
What can I do to avoid this? Yeah.
Well, the first thing that I kind of would explore, and it's not a make or break, it's not an end all be all whatsoever, but it is interesting to explore the fear versus phobia. So is it
Uh-huh.
a fear is something that has a known origin. You remember being bitten by a dog as a kid, and therefore you know and you've taught your subconscious that dogs are dangerous and you will not go near a dog. That is a very real example of a fear. A phobia is an almost irrational and I hate using that word, but I think everybody can vibe with what I'm saying. It's an over the top reaction to something that you might never have experienced before, but you're afraid. So there's no known personal cause for you, but it still affects you as if you
Okay,
had
so I don't
just
even
had
know if
this.
this is true at this point, but the stored memory I have, I should like ask
Yeah.
somebody for historical facts here. Here's the story I tell myself is that once upon a time, like I was young, probably for sure before age 9, because I still lived in Amarillo, Texas, and we were at Paladero Canyon. I have no idea if this is factually true. Saying this to you, I'm like, I need to ask my parents. But we were like like we were like going through caves and stuff. And it was like the way to get out was we had to come up through this open circle and somebody got stuck in it while I was still down in there. Clearly I got out because I didn't die.
Mm.
So I'm here today. Clearly I got out. But that's like the memory I have. So that's interesting when you say that. I'm like, oh, maybe this is a fear and not a phobia because I've
Well,
already
there you
crossed.
go. And see, and here's the thing as well. This is interest. This is just an aside, but I'm going to use my sister as an example because I think she wouldn't mind. But she told me once on the phone. It was right around when I was going to start hypnotherapy and like learn about it. And she's like, "So can you help me with a fear?" And I was like, "Sure. What is it?" She goes, "I just have this weird fear of heights." And I go, and I know what to ask. And I go, "What had you already done that day?" She goes, "Well." We were at this baseball park and there was this, I don't know, some sort of monument or some sort of like, you know, historical something that they went up into this. And I can't remember where she was, but it was like this high place and they wanted to explore it and stuff. And I go, "Well, what did you eat in that day?" She goes, "Oh, I hadn't." So here's the interesting thing. Just a little side note about fears and phobias. Well, phobias really is if you are hungry and you are maybe a little low on your sugar, you know that what are the symptoms of being low on sugar? You're shaky, you feel nervous, you're jittery, you're like irritable, right? And what are the symptoms of anxiety? It's very similar. So
Okay.
if you are putting yourself in a situation where you where you feel maybe a little low blood sugar and you're very hungry and any reaction you have in that moment may be over the top because you're already feeling out of whack. You're not really feeling like yourself. And so you could, and she did, directly tie those heights, the height she was at, to the height, not to what her body was experiencing. And so now she thinks she has a fear of heights, which she probably does, because if you tell yourself you are, then you are. That's what it is. But once she learned that it could have just been her hunger, it did help. Now, I don't think that's what happened in your case, but it did remind me because I was talking to her about it actually just recently
That's just
too.
really good intel for people listening,
Yeah.
though. It's like for you to think like, oh, I was having a feeling. I mean, this will do
Yeah.
this, right? Like I was having a feeling and I associated the circumstantial thing happening
Yes.
with that bodily sensation.
Yes.
And when we can
And
start to
even
uncouple.
yeah. And even if she doesn't like heights, if she had had a full meal with protein in it and like felt her levels leveling out and just felt ease and peace, she may not have full blown got a fear of heights from that. But because you're already in kind of a panicked state, you know, that we've all been there, right? Like hungry is horrible. Hungry is the worst thing for me. I'm like, I get sick, I get nauseous, which when you're anxious, you also get sick, you get nauseous. So it's just so similar. The feeling. So if you are listening to this, and I haven't ever talked about this on a podcast, so I think it's perfect. I think it might be perfect for somebody listening. If you have a fear or phobia, if you have a phobia with no known cause and you can remember or, you know, anchor it to an experience, what did you eat? Were you already anxious about something else? Because that can very, very much affect how you experience anything.
Fascinating. Now, like my takeaway is like, so eat protein before I get in the elevator. Got it, Lynnsey.
Eat protein. Yeah. Cause it definitely can't hurt. You know what I mean? It can only make you feel more at peace. Yeah. Now I would definitely find out from your parents if this was a real thing. Cause if it was, then of course, especially as a child, how old did you say? Like 9?
Had to be before 9, because probably 7, 8. Yeah, because I moved when I was 9.
When did I say the subconscious was formed? So everything that you take in, everything you take in from until about 7 to 9 is pretty much in there until you decide that you don't want it anymore. So so that's interesting as well. And a child, of course, you're going to take it differently than an adult. You could rationalize yourself out of it, but a child, before their subconscious or their critical filter has even developed yet, would be like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. What do I do?
Stop. The end. That gets clocked as danger, right? And our subconscious is just here to keep us out of danger. Yeah.
Didn't stand a chance. Now, it is also interesting. Like if you didn't have that experience, then if there's the reason I talked about fear versus a phobia is because if it's a fear that you can tie to something and you still want to get rid of it, then of course there's a systematic desensitization that we can do. There's things you can desensitize yourself to the triggers and things like that. If it's a phobia, there are still things you can do, definitely visualizing and hypnosis to kind of ease that. But past life regression usually comes up. Not by me. I want to be clear. I never approach it with my clients because you never know. I don't want to step on anyone's beliefs. And usually I'll establish what their beliefs are before we get working together, and if they're open to it, but it's something that I want to have them come to me with. And if they do, I'm like, game on, baby, let's go. Cause it's one of my favorite things to do. But I feel super weird about like pushing it on someone, you know?
Well, tell us what it is. Tell it for somebody who's like, what and listen, if this is you, keep it on, keep the podcast on. Do not shut up. If you're like past life regression, what in the world? This is your invitation to be open. Let's learn about this. Cause we can be just the subconscious can be scared of the unknown. So if past life regression is an unknown to you, your brain right now is when your subconscious is wanting to panic and leave. So we're going to stay open and curious for what Lynnsey's going to tell us about what is it and why would you want to be going there with somebody who's dealing with a phobia?
Well, honestly, you could do a past life regression for any reason, just simple curiosity, but it is something that's very effective for phobias in particular, because the cool thing about a past life regression, and this is going to open up a whole bunch of questions about like curiosity, hopefully, about like, well, are they really experiencing this? Or is it just something that their mind goes to? And I'll get to that in a second. But the cool thing about past life regression is that you're kind of viewing it from a distance. So even if you are experiencing it at like in the body, you know, there's really three different ways you can experience a past life. You can either be in the body, you can be next to, or some people float above and just watch things happen, you know? So it depends on what the client prefers, which also depends on what the subconscious will allow. So some people automatically will just go in the body and they'll tell me that, oh yeah, I'm walking around in this body. My skin looks like this. I'm wearing these clothes. This is what's happening around me. And I always ask open-ended questions, yes or no. Like leading questions is just not my vibe. I usually will say like, what's around you? Look down at your feet and just tell me what you see. I've always had people speaking English, so that's fun. But they're very aware that English is not being spoken, but they are kind of translating it into English. And my colleague once had somebody who's like, I'm not on Earth. And I was like, oh, I wish. So that's on my bucket list. I hope I get somebody who's like, I'm an alien. I know. I can't wait. I can't wait for
I'm on a
that.
whole different planet. Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I'm not
Uh-huh.
even human. So the effective thing that hypnotherapy can do really is, because you're seeing it from a distance and an objective, more objective point of view than actually experiencing it. It's just a natural thing that happens. Like, it doesn't really affect you in the same way. It's almost like a dream where it's happening, but you're also kind of at a distance as well. You're emotionally disconnected from everything that's happening to an extent. Now, there are emotional moments in a past life. So if you have children in a past life and you connect with them and you recognize them as someone in your life today, you'll get emotional. It's just one of those things. Or if something really crazy happens in a past life, sure, you'll get emotional, but it's very it doesn't really stay with you in the same way that like a real life 3D experience can affect you. But now I feel like on the flip side of that, I also want to say it will stay with you forever. Like, you will be changed from this experience, but only in good ways. I want to, like, I've never had somebody be like, I regret doing a past life. It's just not a thing that you will regret. But if you're able to see, okay, let's use Titanic as an example. Let's say if we're able to go back and see, you were able to experience, perishing in that horrible disaster. Sometimes just having the information and knowing that it's not just something you plucked out of thin air is enough for you to be like, oh, okay, got it. Moving on. They say like first step is knowledge of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like that acceptance that just seems to happen naturally. So it does help people move on from just the unexplained unknown of what caused it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No.
I'm like, that's not like this is so funny. We're talking about this. This is just, thank you. This is going to be my personal session. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you get value. But I was thinking when I was a kid, again, probably in that same age range, like 7 to 9, I had the Nintendo game. This is how old I am. Had the Nintendo game, the original Nintendo, Jaws.
Oh
Like
my gosh, my mom loved that game. She used to play
I
it
did
all the
not.
time.
Oh my, like I gave it to my cousin. I'm like, I would get so terrified. Like, look at, I'm like sweating just recalling this. But just even being like on a video screen, being underwater, I was like, absolutely not. Like, Chad, you can have this video game, which you can have it. I gave it away. Like,
Okay, so if we have time, I have a pretty crazy past life story that from my own experience, that is just too weird to deny. You will never convince me the past lives aren't real. But that actually ties it into what I was going to say, which is there are always people that are like, does this even work? Like, are they actually going to a past life, or are they just thinking of the solution to their problem? And to that, I say, who the cares? Who cares? If you walk out of my session, and you always will walk out of the session, out of, the hypnotherapy, knowing that you are better, that you feel better, that a little part of you is healed. There might be still work to do, but a big chunk of what was holding you back is now not there, and you feel more at peace about it. I'm never going to care if it really happened. Now, do I personally believe? Yes, absolutely. And I can tell you my story, and it's really crazy. But it's just one of those things. Like, I have clients come and they're like, is this really real, or is it just my imagination? And I'm like, well, it's both.
well, think about that. I love that. I love that point, because think about it. When you think about fear, a lot of times it's your imagination.
Yeah.
Like, we are experiencing anxiety about an imagined event. Like, we're right. Like, the thing has not happened. And yet
what worrying is, anytime you
real.
worry, it's your imagination doing its job perfectly. But 99% of the things that you worry about are never going to happen. Does it mean that it still feels real to you? Absolutely, it does.
Right.
But yeah, so it's just a fun little tidbit. And people are like, I don't know if I was just making it up or if it's real. I'm like,
okay, to that point, here's a little activity. If you're listening, here's what I want you to practice. Because here's something I'll do with clients is when they're like, I feel anxious about this thing. I'm like, amazing. Where do you feel it in your body? What's happening? I say, at like, what scale of 1 to 10, what's it at? And they're like, it's at a 6. Great. Can you make it an 8? They're like, what? That's going down. I'm like, no, can you make it an 8? And then they're like, well, I guess. And they do. And it's such a good example of, you have control over this.
Yep.
Right? I wouldn't use the language, you're making it up, because that can feel, invalidating, right?
Right.
But you are creating it. And if you can turn it up, you can turn it down.
One of my favorite things to do is like, if somebody is like, oh, I just can't, I can't believe it. I feel like I'm like making it happen. I'm like, look how powerful you are. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Look how powerful you are. If past life regression is just something that you're creating, look how you created an entire world. That is how powerful your brain is. And that's how powerful your mind is. And that is how powerful you are. Like, what do we think placebos are?
Yeah. This is, as a mindset coach, we love a good reframe, right? That's an amazing reframe.
Yeah. I say that about myself. Like, look how powerful I am. This, when they say like, when it rains, it pours with like if I have a really hard day where everything seems to go wrong, I'm like, wow, look how powerful I am.
Look what
it's the same. Look what I did.
Yeah. But listen, this is a really good nuance to like plug into, because what we can do there is like, oh my gosh, look, it's raining, look what I've created. And then we can get into all of this really negative self-talk downward spiral. But what a great intervention, like a hijack and a U-turn.
Yes.
Like, wow, look at the power of my mind. And if I'm powerful enough to create that, what else could I create?
Yeah. What am I going to create tomorrow?
Yeah. What's that?
My favorite thing to do is just remind people, like, if you're going to spend time worrying on the negative or like thinking that the worst is going to happen, that's fine. But you must spend at least the equal or more amount of time thinking about what if it all goes better than you ever thought. Just tip the scales in your favor, because life is hard enough. Why are we making it harder for ourselves? And I have to remind myself of this as well. Like, just have fun. Just let it be easy. Just let this be easy. Just have fun. Just feel good. There's no price you have to pay to feel good. And there's no amount of work that's ever going to be enough for you to give yourself permission to relax or to feel good. So you have to do it now. You just have to. So if you're going to think of all the bad things that are going to happen or that could happen, fine. But you must also think of all the good things that can happen too. And by doing that, you'll find that you really don't want to spend time thinking about how bad things could go in the future, because why?
Yeah. But listen, for you listening, you're like, why? The answer is protection, like survival. Like your subconscious is going to want to think about all the negative things, because that's how it kept you alive.
That's how it kept you alive. That's why we are evolved the way that we are. So no hate. However, once you bring awareness to it, it does become easier to be like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. And we do the same thing with limiting beliefs. Once you're conscious of it and you can consciously choose different, you can affect change consciously. It just, I liken it to like cutting down a tree vertically. You could do it. That's fine. You can use only willpower and conscious power to create change. But there is a much faster way, and that's to get Big Mama Subconscious on your team and on your side. And the way to do that is to, yes, bring these things up that seemed unconscious and ask more questions, get to know yourself a little better, sit in silence, ask questions. Why might I be feeling like this? Why might it be dangerous for me to have this goal? And it doesn't have to make sense. In fact, it probably won't. But
well, and here I want to call out
information.
For the listener, it's like, why might this be dangerous? Here's what we might not, if you've never thought about the subconscious doesn't speak in the same language as the conscious, right?
No.
So it might be a song, a memory, an image, a symbol, right? Like that's the language.
It speaks in emotions,
right? We're still like, oh, suddenly I feel like I'm asking myself, like, why could this be a problem? They're like, oh, suddenly I had this feeling, and that feeling is associated with this thing that happened when I was 14.
Yes.
Yes.
And you have to be, I would say, like, you have to be courageous enough to go there, but it actually doesn't take that much courage. The anticipatory anxiety is worse than actually doing the thing. If you spend 5 minutes asking questions to yourself and figuring out the path from like where I am now to why this might be the worst thing to ever happen to me, if you follow the fear down the rabbit hole, you'll find it's really not anything to worry. Is this really true? No. Is this actually going to happen? No. And I want to put myself on the hot seat for a second, because when I was first starting my business, I'll never forget it. It does also kind of happen still, because nobody's perfect and nobody's done. Okay. But I'm getting much better at like reframing. And this is how I do it. My worst fear when I first started my business was like, what if nobody wants my service? What if no one cares? What if nobody wants to do it? And I don't think you can be a proper business owner without thinking that at least once. Like I think it's a rite of passage a little bit to just think, entertain that thought for a second. And so for me, when I finally decided to like follow it down all the way, let's follow it all the way. So what if nobody cares? What happens then? Well, this has all been for nothing. And what if it's all been for nothing? Well, I won't be able to make money off of it. Okay, what if you can't make money off of it? And then I followed it all the way down to losing my house and being under a bridge with my kids.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like it just went to homelessness. So now I know that's the fear. The fear is losing everything that makes me secure, that makes me feel secure, and feeling completely vulnerable in the rain under a bridge and trying to explain to my kids what happened. Now, is that going to happen? No, because I know I'm not you know how many things need to happen before you're under a bridge? Do you know how many choices there are and how many left or right forks in the road you can take before you're actually under? Now, I understand that homelessness is a real thing, but I know it where I'm sitting right now, that fear for me is irrational. It is not a thing. And so when I can remind myself of that, it immediately makes me feel like, okay, so the natural next step is to just feel better about this. And I find that it's a lot easier to do that. Now, some of you may have it may be very easy and quick for you to be like, oh, I'm afraid this is the fear. And it is a very real fear. If it is a real fear, then absolutely take steps to avoid that from happening. But most of the time, I can venture to say most of the time, it is something that is so outlandish, so outside the norm that your subconscious did pick up because of feelings that you had similar. I can definitely tell you times I felt insecure and not on solid ground as a child and not really safe at all. And so I know that is like, what if I return to that? What if I return to that? What if I return to that? So whatever that is for you, listener, I hope that you are able to remind yourself that you are very powerful and very magnificent and you have skin in the game. Things aren't just happening to you anymore. And I hope that anyone listening to your podcast can realize like, it's not just it's not happening to you. Okay. Like you have a responsibility to, make as much good happen in your life as possible. And I always say you can't be responsible for things that happened before you knew. But now, today, even if just in this moment, you're like, oh, maybe I do have a say. Maybe I do have a choice in what my subconscious knows is safe for me. Now you have a responsibility to make sure that everything in your life reflects who you really are and where you're really going and the kind of life you really want to have. And that's all any of us really can try to do.
Yeah. That's such like, I want to just carve out the difference between like, not the difference, the addition to like now you have responsibility also. And what you're pointing out in your message is, and you have the power, ability, and capability.
When I say responsibility, I know it sounds like, oh, fine. But it really is like, but look at this opportunity you have. Look at what you have now. I basically, through this conversation, every time I talk to a client, every time I do a podcast, I'm sure you do too, we're handing it to you on a platter. Like, look at this buffet that you have now, and you can choose anything you want. Like, what do you want? And some of us have never even asked ourselves that. What do you want? What makes you happy?
Yeah. I was literally coaching a woman yesterday who is in her upper 70s, mid 70s. And I said something like what the question was like, well, what do you want in this?
Did she stare at you like a deer in headlights?
Yes. And she said, right. Cause she said, I don't know. Like it's never been like, that has never been the point. Yeah. The way I protected myself was to make sure I know what everybody else wants and caretake. Yep. And this is what we're talking about. It's like, so whether it's, I have spent so much time caretaking everybody else's needs that I never considered my own. Now you have the power to self-reflect on your own, right? And like you, again, I don't know if this is just the entrepreneurial's badge to wear. So if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, please message me and tell me. But also when I was like, I'm leaving my full-time job and I'm going to be an entrepreneur 100%. I was like, see you at Haven for Hope, which is the homeless shelter here, right? in South Texas, like, right? Like, it's so, right? Because
I feel so seen
for survival. Like, I am going to be, and to your point, when you walk about, I'm like, what would have to happen? Yeah. I'm like, is that it, right? Is that possible? Is that right? I'm like, no, I could also get a job, even if it's like Quick Trip.
Yeah. Like I've been like, could I really work at like Old Navy? I don't know. Probably.
Can I be a step instructor at the Y? I don't know. Right? Like a lot. Like
You
literally
have to
that's
have
our
a backup plan, I think. It's just part of our, like, we have to have a backup plan.
Just so all of you know, mine is see you at Quick Trip because they're always so happy. I don't know if they have Quick Trips where you are, but they're always like,
Is that
see you
like a
next time.
convenience
It's
store?
just a convenience store, Quick Trip. They're like, I'll
Like
see you
a,
next time. And
okay.
I'm like, yeah, you
Yeah.
will. They know
You
I'm
will.
coming back for that crushed ice. They know it's a lovely place. So this is my back. I was like, yeah, of course I wouldn't. But literally with my coach, she's like, you could come live with me. Stop it. Right. Like
Yeah.
also, even if you could not get a job, you also might have people in your life. And listen, I think again, when we talk about that leaning into your power and capability, part of that is, oh, knowing that I have the power and ability to see the stories my brain is telling me,
Yep.
to identify what's really possible, what's not so possible, to tell myself a different story, right? And
Yeah.
those are like the tiny building blocks that lead up to with that power, then I have the power to go. I have the power
Yes.
to put myself out there. I have the power to launch my business and help the hundreds and thousands of people that I have helped because I didn't stop at, oh my God, I'm gonna be at the homeless shelter.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I think it's so important, especially going back to like the happiness piece. Like I'll have, when a client comes to me and they're like, I just want to know like what I'm here for. What am I here for?
Yep.
And sometimes it's about their purpose and sometimes it's just about like feeling better. And one of the first ways I always go to is like, well, what do you like? What do you want to do? What do you like? And I'm like, I have no idea. I can probably name, and I've been doing this for 13 years, 12 years, and I can pretty much count on one hand the amount of times people were ready for that answer. And it's not some, because I work with mostly women, and I think it's just not something we think about. We're not told that that's okay. In fact, we're kind of taught it the opposite. Like you're here to fit a certain expectation that people have of you, and the end, that's it. And so one of the things, if you're having trouble figuring out like what you like, that is the first step, by the way, to health, happiness, abundance, prosperity, love. Find out what you like and what makes you happy and do more of it. And I know it sounds like a cheat code, and it kind of is. It's the thing. But if you're having trouble with it, just think about what you liked when you were a kid. Kids know. You don't have to teach a kid how to have fun. The kid will do it. It will just do it. It could have been coloring. What's a grown-up version of coloring? Coloring. There's so many grown-up coloring books.
A whole drawer full of adult coloring books if y'all need recommendations.
Yeah. I have a Doctor Who one. I love it. If you liked to explore, go on a trip or just explore your own town, like become a tourist in your own town. There's so many ways to do it with a budget and for free. Like there's a way to do the thing that makes you happy. Step one, if you really can't think of anything, is go hug a tree. Promise. Trust me. Hug a tree or put your face in the sun and just be.
Yeah. It's
one of the best things.
I'm glad you said that because that's what I was like, some people, again, maybe like if there's trauma or there was like a lot of survival strategies growing up, or like you just can't even, you're like, I don't even remember before the age of 7, right? Then my advice is always go explore, then go test it out.
Yes,
if you're like, I don't know what I like, amazing.
That's what I say. I'm like, that's so cool. Now you get to figure that out. How fun is that?
Yeah. And see, even in that, like, notice I just want to point out the shift of, I don't know what I want. Think about if you stop there, how long you could stay. How many years that you're like, I'm just aimless and rudderless and compassless and I just don't know what I want. Or in a moment of saying, oh, I don't know what I want. Amazing. This is an opportunity for me to find out. That is the difference from stagnation to forward momentum.
Yeah. And I just want to I want to remind everybody too, like nobody knows what they're doing. Okay.
No.
So if your next door neighbors they have so many hobbies and they make them happy. I promise you it didn't happen overnight. I promise you everybody gets confused. Everybody feels lost. Everybody feels rudderless. And we're all just trying to figure it out. You are farther behind anyone else. As long as you are, what is this? What's the phrase? As long as you're 1% better than you were yesterday, that's the only measurement you need. If you are 1% better than you were yesterday, and that can include the choices that you're making now are more expansive than what you maybe would have done yesterday. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I have to say,
it feels so much better.
Yeah, 100%. And what was coming up for me when you're saying that is that one of the things, I mean, there's so many reasons I love what I get to do. And one of the things that I'm so grateful for is I have a front row seat to people who are in wildly different places circumstantially in their life. And what I get to see is no matter what. It could be the day, like you got your Inc. 5000 place, you are getting an award, or you just went through a breakup, or you have an 8-figure business, or you have made $4 in
Mhm.
your business. Everyone, to your point, everyone, life is 50-50. Everyone has the triumphs and the challenges, the struggles,
Yeah.
like the human experience, like no one is exempt from the human experience. And
Yeah.
I think
That's why we're
for,
here.
right, like for a long time, like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, for sure, if I could just have the things and do the things and show up and be the way that these people are, then everything is so much better. There's just something wrong with me. And I think that's what you're hitting on is if
Yeah.
you have a defective story or a deficiency story, just to call yourself out, like there, yeah, everyone else who looks like they're doing the thing. And I know this sounds like kind of trite, but like the substance to this is that if you can just know, like every single human, no matter what they've achieved or not, is also struggling. They're also lost sometimes. They're also confused. Like you don't have to beat yourself up about
No.
it. Choice.
It's so normal, and I don't think even though it is talked about more, I still think it's not talked about enough, because we just need to make it okay to feel however you're feeling. We need to make it okay, because we're not here to just have a good life. And I have a really good example of this too. And this is a really nerdy one, but I play video games a lot, and I love video games. I love it. So one of the games I like to play is like this adventure game. Some may have heard of it. It's called Skyrim. It's pretty popular, but only, I guess, if you play video games. But I have a like level 100 character who has all the weapons, all the armor, explored every bit of the map. There's really no more quests to go on. There's nothing left to do. And I'm kind of just wandering around, and it's the most boring save file that I have. So I was sick of it, and I just ended up starting over on level 1. And I was like, I was so excited. I was like, I don't have nothing. I get to build it up. And it's so easy to talk about it from like a video game perspective, and from a soul perspective, that's exactly how it feels for your soul. It's like, let's figure it out, baby. Let's go. This is so exciting. Let's do the thing. But for the human, and I'm sure for my video game character, it's like, I just died with one shot. Like, I'm so weak right now. Like, I don't know anything. I can't do anything. But that's God, it's so cliche to say, like, that's the journey, and the journey is the thing that we're here for. But it's a cliche because it's true. It's just been said a lot.
Yeah.
And so it feels diluted. It feels diluted. I always feel like it's saying diluted, but I'm saying dilute, like watered down. It feels watered down because it's been so overused, but it is very, very true. Cliches are cliche for a reason. We're not here to just have everything right now on a silver platter. If you could do it, you wouldn't, because who would want to have everything they've ever wanted right now? This is the fun of it, is figuring it out and making yourself better, and the expansion that happens when you're able to do that. Now, that all that being said, hypnotherapy is a shortcut, but it's not an overnight magic either. It's the fastest, I would say, one of the fastest mindset shifts that we have available to us right now.
Yeah.
EFT
aside from my coach, the subconscious mind teacher said, okay, aside from the subconscious hypnotherapy type work that we do, the only thing that's faster is psychedelics. Like that.
Oh, I love that.
All the table legs, we can do some serious work. So unless you want to go do psilocybin and ketamine or ayahuasca, that's an option.
That's an option.
Hypnotherapy is also, but here's what I want you to tell us is, because we're talking about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and I think a lot of people have conceptions about that. So if you were just to say, here's what hypnotherapy, hypnosis actually is, like in its simplest form, here's what it's not, maybe, what would you say to someone?
So hypnotherapy is really just a very focused state of mind that allows you to create subconscious change. It is, as I said in kind of the top of the episode, it is a way to communicate directly with your subconscious and teach it what is safe for you. And sometimes that means in the process of teaching it what is safe, we also release things that are outdated, that don't work for you, that haven't served you, that just kind of got stuck in there. Sometimes you will be limited by things that weren't even in, that's not even your voice. It could be a parent or guardian or somebody in authority in your life that kind of infiltrated and taught you things about life that maybe just aren't true, or not true in the way that you want to live your life. So it's really just a relaxed and focused state of mind. It is not sleep. You are fully aware the entire time. It's kind of like that dreamy, floaty feeling right before you wake up and right before you fall asleep. It's like 1 foot in and 1 foot out of 3D reality. You're somewhere else, and you know that, but you also know that you are in the comfort of your own home, probably in your pajamas, listening to my voice and able to take in everything that's being said. And it always, I always go by your agenda. I have audios that people can just pick and choose what topic they want. But if I'm seeing a client one-on-one, we are very intentional with the hypnosis that we do. It's very personal, and it's very much aligned with what the client's goals are, what their hopes and dreams are for hypnotherapy, and where they're going in their life. So it's very simple. I thought I was learning magic. I thought I was going to be Harry Potter. I thought I had this new trick to show everyone. But no, it's very simple, and it's something, again, that you do every day. So it's already something you know how to do very, very well. I do want to say, no one can hypnotize you against your will. So there's a lot of movies and TV shows out there that kind of set us back a little bit, but just please know, I'm really, really good at my job, and I cannot hypnotize you if you don't want to be hypnotized. I can't put you in that state unless you have that openness and that willingness. So that kind of could fork off into a stage hypnosis conversation, which we could if you want, but just suffice to say, you have to be a willing participant in order for it to happen. So it can't happen against your will. No one can get stuck in hypnosis. Again, it's just something that you do every day anyway. What else? You're fully in control.
Here's what I was thinking, like for the person listening who is like, I have never done hypnosis, I've never done hypnotherapy. And I know there are many processes and practices to get somebody in that hypnotic state, or in that state, like what you said, like that focused state.
Yeah.
Like give us an example of like a way that you get people into.
You want to know my inductions?
Yes. Tell us your inductions.
So the method in the first session, and stage hypnosis mimics this, but there's no rapport being like connection, like good foundation. In stage hypnosis, there's no rapport. You just shock them in. So it's what we call it, an overload of message units, meaning like I'm giving you information and I'm overloading you with information until you just want to escape. You drop. Now that is, it sounds intense, but it really isn't that. It's not that crazy. In the first session, we do a version of that where it's kind of allowing you to hit that fight or flight, because the higher you can go into fight or flight, the deeper you will drop into hypnosis. So in the first session, we want to establish a really good depth. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to just shake your hand and you're going to fall to the ground. For me, it looks like, or for the client, it looks like staring at the ceiling and closing your eyes on every even number, opening them on every odd number, and repeating and repeating and repeating to kind of lull you into a state. There's also a relaxation induction, which is my favorite because it just helps the client just kind of drop in and get very cozy in their mindset. But it really is just a progressive relaxation, or a light that's soothing, or a color for comfort, something like that, to get you into a peaceful state of altered consciousness, where you can ask yourself questions, meet your higher wisdom, meet your spirit guide, have a past life regression. My favorite thing is spiritual hypnotherapy. So I'm all about helping the client feel their intuition, heighten their psychic gifts if they feel like they have them, but they just want to like hone them better. This is a great way to do it. And again, spirit guide hypnosis, spirit counsel, past life regression, between life.
Ooh. I want to go there.
That's a fun one.
Between lives.
Well, what's happening between lives is you're meeting your soul family, you're choosing your body, you're choosing the life bullet points of the life you're going to have and who you're going to be with, and soul contracts and all that sort of thing. And you will probably recognize a lot of people that are in your life now, especially if you're close to them. But also, if you hate them, they'll probably be in your soul family, because we are all here to help each other.
It's like literally like the Disney Pixar movie Soul. Like, this is the pre-life. Y'all are just
it's very similar. I watched that movie and I was like, interesting.
They might be onto something here. So I don't know if I want this to be a quick question, because I know we're want to be mindful of time, but I think one of the, like we kind of hit on that earlier, when we were thinking about like scarcity and stuff. And so many people have a lot of stuck points around money and money mindset. Like, what are some of the things that you do to help shift somebody, especially if we can like leverage the power of our subconscious? What are some of those starting points or places you go to help people rewire that?
Are you talking about therapy methods, or just things I tell my clients? or both?
Both, all of the above.
Okay. So a really fun one that I love to do in hypnosis is we meet your representation or symbol for money and we just get to know it. We just ask questions. So I'm going to play. We want to play real quick. It's not going to be a full hypnosis, but I want you to just close your eyes and picture, if you could just pull an image for what money looks like to you, the energy of money, what would it look like? What would money be as an energy in your mind?
The ocean popped up.
Ah, so you probably have a really good money story anyway. Everybody's got a work in progress. I've had people, it's a diamond, it's a gold money symbol. Mine is a stack of money with the eyeballs, like the Geico money stack. Do you know what I'm talking about? The old Geico commercial where it's like a stack of bills and then two googly eyes on the top. It's money to me. And when we go into that state of hypnosis and you picture whatever money stands for you, you get to say, hey, money, how do you feel about me? How do you feel about how I treat you? These are very important questions. And how can I have more of you? And so it's just a really gentle connection with that energy to be like, oh, and then there's a fun part where we switch places with money and you get to see how money views the world and what money wishes people knew about it. When I did this years ago, decade ago, money felt very sad because it knew how people viewed it as something dirty, as something only certain people could have. And it was just like, I just want to be here for everybody. I just want to help everybody. And it was almost like I felt so bad for money. I was like, oh, you just want to help. I'm so
you
sorry.
Can come hang out with me, money. You can come to my party. You get to come to all my parties. Yes.
So I will say this. One thing that it did change for me after I did that session was like, now I know money loves me and I love money. And there is nothing wrong with that. It's a very symbiotic relationship. And I love the energy of money and I love it coming into my life and I love what I'm able to do with it. And it made me more thankful for all the money that comes in. And when you're able to ask money, like, hey, money, how can I have more of you? Most people are shocked by the answer, but usually it can come down to simply like, be thankful for what you have now. When you find a penny on the ground, it has the exact same energy signature as $100 bill. So the fact that we're quantifying it is a human thing, but money, the energy of money is the energy of money. So if you're able to see a penny on the ground and be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, universe, for letting this show up into my life. Thank you, money, for showing up. Please, more, please. Thank you, more, please, is my favorite thing to say. Thank you, more, please. Practically, I would also say, even without doing hypnotherapy, one of the coolest things to do is just, thank money. If you find a dime on the floor, a penny, or if you find a $5 bill in your jeans from the dryer, or if you just feel the energy of money getting stronger coming into your life. I'm so excited for all the money coming to me in expected and unexpected ways. It's under my desk at all times. This is a delightful day. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. This is from the Louise Hay tear off calendar from like 2014, but I kept this one because it's my favorite one. And I have it just right here that I can see at all times. And it reminds me to just be in the energy of anticipation and excitement. Anxiety and excitement have the same symptoms as well. So,
listen, one of my favorite feelings is delight. And that started with like, this is a delightful day. Yes. And so I love that, like being,
that's like, perfect.
Like my inner, like if you're not watching this on YouTube, it's like a little child like squeezing their hand. I'm like, oh yes, I love everything about that.
That was a synchronicity for sure. But just being in the energy of excitement. Again, something I say to myself as often as I can remember it when I wake up in the morning is like, I cannot wait for you, universe, to show me all the ways today's going to be amazing. I can't wait for you to surprise me in the best way. And it just sets you up for that, like, A, expectation, B, excitement, which is really all that we're here to do anyway. Just be more excited and anticipatory of like all the good things coming to you. And just, try to spend more time in delight. Who doesn't want that?
I do. And I love that. Listen, I'm always listening for like really good, tangible nuggets. And that one was so useful for me because I will be totally honest. And I tend to wake up in dread. Like I'm like, no,
okay,
absolutely not.
Can I vibe with you for 1 second? Because Please. I have noticed in the past, like, I don't know, 5 days, I've woken up with like, ugh, like a 10-pound weight or a 20-pound weight was just put on my shoulders. I'm like, what is this? Where is this coming from? I think some of it, I am going to acknowledge like energy be cray right now. And I think everyone I talk to has had some version of like, I'm getting headaches more. I'm just overly tired. I feel nauseous. And I feel this sense of like, not, yeah, like something's coming and you don't really know. And you're kind of like on edge. That's kind of how I've been feeling. And I don't know how much of it is astrology and how much of it is energy and how much of it is like my intuition, like,
Right. Yeah.
but it's not just you. I will tell you that for sure. It is not
I'm
just
not
you.
the only one. Yeah.
You're not the only one.
We're not
It's
the only
actually
one.
everyone I'm talking to right now.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we can normalize. Like, again, I love a good normalization and validation. And just even hearing you say what you said, I can't wait for you to surprise me in the best way. Like immediately, I'm like, I'm ready to get out of bed. Let's go. Like
Yes.
that. So I love something I can take with me. Like that is something I'm going to use tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I'm going to write this down so that tomorrow morning in my dear diary, that's the first thing I'm going to see is I
Yeah.
can't wait for you to surprise me with in the best way. Like I'm
Can't wait
excited
to
for all the
see
good
all
things.
the ways this is going to be a great day. You could say there's so many ways you can say it. You can say it verbatim. You can make up your own way to say it, but
Yeah.
some version of I am so excited to see how today's going to be great. I can't wait for you to show me. And yeah, it just sets you up for a really great day. It really does.
So my invitation to you, dear listener, is do this with me. I love a good experiment. Anything I can make a game, we're going to gamify this. So I'm going to make this an experiment, and then we are all going to collectively check in and see how does that shift things. Like I'm so excited. I
Yeah.
can't wait for you to show
Yeah.
me. Like we're just hypnotizing ourselves. We're
And
just starting the
exactly.
day.
And I'm going to give you a little spoiler. Even if you just feel better throughout the day, I think that's a nice surprise. Even if you
Facts.
just feel like you're floating on cloud nine for the day, that is what we're talking about. It doesn't have to be $1 million showing up in your mailbox. It doesn't have to be the perfect man showing up in your life. It could just be, wow, I felt so great today. I can't wait to do it again tomorrow and just see what happens because like attracts like. And if you feel good, you will attract more things to feel good about. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can't wait to do it again
I can
tomorrow.
talk forever.
No, I'm like geeking out. Again, thinking about if that was the approach, because so many people, we talk like it feels like a rat race, and they're like, oh my God, it's a slog. I have to do the same thing day in and day out. But again, the delight of I can't wait. I can't imagine like going to bed like Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
If that's something that you celebrate, where you're like, I can't wait to do this again tomorrow. Or when you're on like your favorite vacation or your favorite retreat, or you're doing whatever, and you're like, I'm so excited to wake up and do this thing again.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. And I want you, Jessica, to please, we are connected now.
Yep.
I want to hear, and anyone who really wants to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram or whatever. I want to hear all the synchronicities, all the cool things, all the wow, that was cool. All of those moments, I live for them. So you will have them tomorrow.
Yeah.
You just will. I want to hear about all of them so I can celebrate with you because that is like half the fun for me. And it's really, I call it like, this is what I'm getting out of these client sessions is I need to celebrate with you. So that's part of my selfish reason for doing this.
Yeah, same. Exactly. That's like when I start a client session with, tell me how your things are already getting better. Like I want to start with a celebration because let us delight together in all of it. Yeah. So we're all yes, I'm starting the game. I'm going to tell you, everyone's going to tell us, connect with us and tell us your synchronicities. It's going to be amazing. So to that point, before I ask you my very last question, please tell the listeners what's the best way to connect with you, to follow the work that you're doing, to learn more about you and what you're doing in the world.
So, oh my gosh. So this is perfect because I actually, Instagram and TikTok, just Lynnsey Robinson. It's just my name. Very easy to find me. If you Google my specific name, like my spelling, you'll find everything. But Instagram and TikTok I'm most active on. I have an app called Align Your Mind, which is really hypnotherapy. It's got EFT sessions. I do card pulls in there. I do a little bit of human design, a lot of emotional intelligence and like emotional healing, empowerment, manifestation hacks. It's got it all. And here's what I'm really excited about. It's so funny that we talked so much about this today because my November live event, which are all free, by the way, anyone can join these free monthly group sessions, is about gratitude and divine timing. So it's insanely funny, but yeah, that's the theme for November. So if you want to come hang out in the live event, you don't even have to have the app to get the event. You just have to go on my Instagram and find the link. It's in my links anywhere you can find it. But if you do want the app, it's free to download and free to get started. There's a lot of free resources in there, and it's just a really fun time. I love it. I'm so proud of it. It just launched like a couple months ago, so it's still pretty
Congrats.
new.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, amazing. And it's called, I'll put this in the show notes, but it's
Mhm.
called Align Your Mind is the app. And
Yep.
Lynnsey, this will all go in the show notes, but Lynnsey's is Lynnsey. So when you're
Yeah,
looking for her on the Facebooks and on the
just like
Instagram and the
Lynn.
TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, like Lynn, but put an SEY at the end.
Yeah. Perfect. It'll all be in there. So, Lynnsey, for my very last question, please tell us, what does it mean to you to live an unblocked life?
Oh gosh, it's going to be feelings. I'm going to talk about feelings. An unblocked life just feels, you can see my body right now, just like loosening up. It just feels free. It feels like relief. It feels like possibility. And that is how I would say how most of my days go. Nobody ever has great days every day, but most of my days do feel unblocked in the way that like I could do anything. I could go anywhere. And if there's something I don't like, I can change it. Like I have full, what's the word? Sovereignty?
Literally the word in my head. Oh, it's like if we were mind reading right now.
Yeah, it does happen. It does happen, especially with two intuitive people. Like I'm not surprised at all. But yeah, I have full sovereignty. And all I want to do is just help people connect with their own, because gosh, it's just so much better. You're still going to have days where it feels impossible. You're still going to have hard days. You're still going to feel negative feelings sometimes, or what we would call negative feelings sometimes. But if you can know that you have the power to change it, it's not taking the potholes out of the road. It's just getting better shocks on the car, so you don't feel them as much as you normally would, and you can navigate better around them. So unblocked
I'm
life,
totally
just
stealing that analogy. I
do
love a
it.
good analogy. Because that's, again, I'm from on the mindset side of things. Like it's not about changing the circumstances. It's about, like building up your inner resilience and resourcefulness and equipped.
100%.
Right. Yeah. Not about taking out the potholes. It's about building up the shocks.
Yeah.
Okay. So good. Thank you for your time today, Linda. I could talk to you for 7 more hours. I probably will after this at some point. I'm going to keep talking to you.
Oh, I want to tell people my past life story. So where
Yeah,
can
yeah,
I do that?
yeah.
I don't want it to go forever. I don't want this. Oh my God, 11 11 was the
Yeah.
amount of time we've been talking.
Perfect.
That's weird.
Tell us the story.
So I feel like I have to tell it now because
Now you have to like bated breath. People have been waiting. Yeah.
oh gosh, I'm gonna maybe make this like an extra bonus
Okay.
option or something. Anyway, so when I was again just starting hypnotherapy, you have the option to pick a mentor and you can do free sessions. And of course, I was like, past life regression. I don't need to work on anything. I'm fine. Give me a past life and I'll be good. So, which is not true, but I was just really excited. So we did a past life, and I had a past life where I was living in either the 17th century or the 1700s. And I knew the number 17, but I couldn't figure out if it was, because the 17th century is what, the 1800s? Or no, it's the 1600s. Yeah. So it's off by one, but I knew it was an English speaking country, and I knew that I had two sons. Okay. And this was in 2000. This was not even when I was starting hypnotherapy. I did this in 2005 when I first moved to California. So this was way before I had even started hypnotherapy. Anyway, so it's 2005. I was like 20 years old. I was like, I had two sons and I was living in an English speaking country. I just didn't know where it really was, maybe England or even like the East Coast, but then it would have had to be the 1700s. Anyway, point is, I had two sons, and one of them had a daughter, ended up having a daughter. And so I remember being in the horse carriage, like bouncing along as I'm going to travel to see my new granddaughter.
Yeah.
And it took like, I told her, she goes, and what are you doing now? And I said, I'm in the carriage going to see my granddaughter. It takes 2 days to get there by carriage. And I don't know where that came from. I just said it. It was weird. And you're saying things when you're in the experience too. Like my first experience doing this was actually being the one in the chair. And so I know like it feels like you are narrating a story that you're experiencing and knowing that you're narrating it, but also experiencing it. It's so weird. So so one of the things that happened in the course of this lifetime was my husband was pretty much just a business arrangement. We didn't really love each other. Our parents wanted us to get together. We were very like well off. Like I had servants for everything. And I even remember the little yellow flowers on the bedspread, like the pattern was very floral. It was very like old colonial feeling and looking. Anyway, he ended up being, I think he was like a merchant sailor or something, or something. He had to go away to travel to like get a business deal or something, and he ended up dying at sea or getting another family and never coming back because we never saw him again. And I didn't know in the experience, I was like, I don't know if he died or it feels like he died. And then so shortly after that, I ended up getting like, I knew it was something with my lungs. I was in the bed and I could feel like a coldness in my chest. So I don't know if it was pneumonia or if like my heart was failing or whatever, but I ended up, passing. Now, interesting thing, when my son in the experience had a daughter, he named her Annabelle, which is a very appropriate name, I think, for that time. And so it was just an aside, like, oh yeah, I named her Annabelle. I'm going by horse and carriage to go see them. And then of course, husband dying at sea, possibly that's what it felt like. And my son's next to me as I pass. I know for a fact my sons are my brother, James, in this life. And I think my other brother, or perhaps one of the sons I have now. I can't really remember what that connection felt like, but it's interesting because I didn't know my son now back then, because it was like, I don't know, 10 years before I had him or 13 years before I had him. So I wouldn't have known that connection. So I think connected it to another brother, which now looking back, I think maybe it was one of my sons now. Anyway, so here's where it gets weird. Ready for the weirds? I know it took forever to tell you that, but that's important because this is crazy. So that was in 2005. And then fast forward to 2011, 12, when I'm actually starting hypnotherapy. And this was, I don't know, many years later. And I was talking to my dad about it. And he goes, oh, you could help me quit smoking. And I was, oh, my husband was my dad. My husband was my dad. I could feel that same kind of soul energy. And it's weird when you do a past life, if anyone's ever done it, you know that it's kind of like a dream where you just kind of know things, you just feel them. So you can look into the eyes of somebody that you are experiencing a past life with and know their soul signature and know them as somebody in your life now. That's pretty cool. So I recognize that husband as my father in this life. It's not weird. It's not weird, guys.
Don't make it weird. Yeah.
What it is. It's a soul group thing. Okay. So I was telling him like I'm going to start hypnotherapy. He goes, oh, cool. You can help me quit smoking. I was like, yes, I would love to. I go, do you have any like fears or phobias? This is around the same time I talked to my sister back then about her phobia that came up. And he goes, no, I'm not really afraid of anything, which is just so my dad. Okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he's actually, I do have a weird fear of open water. Like I don't like it. I don't like being out in the ocean. And I was like, interesting. And I did not connect the two because I had not gone back to look at my past life. She wrote down everything. She even gave me a CD with all of I've never listened to the CD because it just seems weird to listen.
Like I want to go back.
But I did end up going back and looking at the notes after that. And I was like, oh, that's weird because I felt like he in that life had like died at sea. That's really strange. And I read over all the notes about, Annabelle and my son's daughter, who's now my brother. Anyway, so a few months later, my brother had a daughter, like in this life, in real life. And I go, oh, cool. What'd you name her? Annabelle. First of all, I never told any of my family at this point about my past life because that's weird. How do you tell your dad, oh yeah, we were married in a past life? Weird. You wouldn't do it. Didn't tell my dad, didn't tell my brother because I didn't think they'd be receptive to it. So I just did it. So the fact that he said Annabelle, I almost like vomited everywhere. I was like, what are you talking about? Why did you name her that? And he's like, I don't know. I just liked the name. I go, did your wife want to name her that? Like, and he goes, no, actually, I had to convince her. She didn't really like it at first. I had to convince her to name it because I really just liked the name so much. This is the same soul from my past life that named his daughter Annabelle is now the exact same soul that named his daughter Annabelle. Now she's my niece. And I don't know that she's the same soul necessarily, but the name is the same. So that was just really weird. And this was years and years apart. And there's no way that it could have been, there's no way I could have predicted or made up the stuff that I did and then had it come to fruition years later. It's just, it's preposterous for me to think that like I can't logic myself out of it. And I do try. I have tried. But it's just too real for me. That name was the clincher for me, for sure.
Yeah. And so my question is like, okay, so whatever is not real, like something about that is like delighting, right? Or there's something about that, so what is it like, what's the value? What's the upside of like, hey, this is connected? Like, what does that do for you to
Well,
know,
for
like,
me, it really just makes me feel, yeah, it makes me feel connected. Like I'm a part of something
yeah,
bigger. And for some people that's enough. For me, it's great, but it really just allows me to feel connected to my own divinity, if you will, to my own soul, to my uh deep, I would say deep recognition and deep knowing that there is more than just this 3D life. And it's always fascinated me my whole life. Like what makes a human beyond just the meat sack? We are more than that. But what is it? And so the pursuit of the soul has always been kind of, it's always fed me very well.
yeah. Because I mean, ultimately, we're saying like it's a pursuit of being known,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And like for so many of us, that's like, for a lot of people, like it's like something bigger than the limited human flesh suit or meat sack or the name or the
Yeah.
job or the whatever is this real longing to know our truth, to know
To
our
know, yeah.
expansiveness. Yeah.
And to know, and yes, exactly. And once you can't know your soul and not love yourself, I think you can't know
Mm,
yourself completely without loving yourself. So, of course, we all have things we don't necessarily like, but
yeah.
that deep self-love is so powerful. If anybody is curious about like soul's journey or like,
Mhm.
past lives or in between lives, I recommend, it changed my life. It's the reason I'm a hypnotherapist. And I read it when I was 20, right before I moved to California. It's called Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton. There's
I
also
was
Journey
literally
of
gonna
Souls.
ask. See, synchronicity. My bestie invited me to do a little book club with her, but it was another one of his books, The Soul's
There's,
Journey,
there's
maybe.
there's Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It
And
brought
that's the first
my
one. But I read the second one first because my sister gave it to me and she's like, you have to read this. And it just like changed me forever. But if you're at all interested in in this kind of sect of spirituality, oh my gosh, it's incredible. It's so much fun.
yeah, it's gonna break your brain in the best way.
Yes, it will. It
You're gonna
will.
immediately, I was like listening to the audiobook. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna power wash my driveway just so I can like have an excuse to go listen to this book right now.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so you're listening to the audiobook?
I
Okay,
listened, I listened to the Journey of Souls audiobook.
what's
Like,
interesting is that for anyone that doesn't know, these books are transcripts of sessions. So you're
mhm.
basically hearing a session in text form. You're reading through the session and they have like each name has labels and stuff. So it's Dr. Newton and his client and they're having conversations about in session. So when people tell me like they're listening to it, I'm like, how is that? Because I read like the physical copy. I can't imagine how it would be if you were listening to the transcript. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it did for me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I forgot a lot of it because I was multitasking, but
Oh my
luckily my
god.
bestie had read it also, so we had our little joint session so that we
Oh, that's
could,
good.
yeah, like,
It's so good, so
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Anyway, go read it if you haven't yet. It's amazing. Change your life if you're
change it.
ready for that.
Yeah, and I think like this episode today, let yourself be changed by it. Like there were so many,
Yes.
like this is one that I feel like a second listen through because there's just so many different nuggets and routes that we went down, and it's going to speak to you differently on different days. So this is one I know
Yeah.
I'll listen to a couple of times.
Oh, yeah, that's such a good idea. Yes, definitely. I'm so glad to have been here with you today. And
Yeah.
hopefully, you guys are still here and listening or watching. I'm so happy to assist you and answer any questions you may have. Just reach out to me. Happy to do
Yes.
it. That's why I'm here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lynnsey.
Thank you.